All right, gang tankers, a quick update. You don't normally get one this quickly from me, but let me just share my screen with you so you can have a look at this presentation that Pershing Square Tontine Holdings just dropped earlier today. Now, this sort of clears up some of the stuff I said in the video yesterday, and they're sort of highlighted here that in early communications, they didn't just limit themselves to a merger. They also said that they were going to either complete a capital stock exchange or an asset acquisition or a stock purchase, which is what has occurred, among other things, as you can see there on the screen. And they have said as well that with Remainco, a little bit later on in this deck, that they're actually going to try and seek a merger and not a stock or an asset purchase. So a bit of certainty being given there. So they sort of cover the deal with Vivendi and what happened. There's going to be a presentation on Wednesday night Australian time. Explain this a bit further, first from Vivendi and then from Pershing Square Holdings. So that'll be interesting. A lot of the best parts of this slide deck are sort of highlighted in yellow at the bottom of the slide. So I encourage you to go and have a look at this. I linked it to the Money in the Tank Facebook page. This is a bit of an overview, which we covered yesterday. Most of the stuff I got right, 10%, 4.1 billion, and it's going to be listed on the Euronext Amsterdam exchange, so we won't worry about this part here. The interesting part on this slide is that the PSTH directors will exercise 1.6 billion in forward purchase agreements, which will mean that Remainco will have 1.5 billion in cash left over and 1.4 billion of an unexercised sponsor forward purchase agreement. So I don't know if those two are connected, but yeah, interesting. They've given some clarification on a few different parts here. So I stuffed up my warrant explanation yesterday, even with my cut. I think I had it correct the first time. When you bought a share of PSTH IPO, you got one share and 1/9 of a distributable redeemable warrant. And the Tontine warrants were if you were holding. So there was an extra 2/9 of a warrant attached to each share. They've sort of given a breakdown here of what the cash utilization of the SPAC will be. And then they're talking about the spark over here in the third column, which is the exciting part. So they talk a little bit more here about what will happen if you did hold from IPO. So myself, I must disclose I own shares in this, and I don't hold from IPO. So I don't have the 1/9 of a warrant that came with the shares initially. I bought after that, those were split off. So I will still have access to the 2/9 of the Tontine warrant, but not the distributable redeemable warrants. So you can see here in this example, they're showing you that if you own 100 shares, you'll get 0.643 translating to UMG shares. So if you have 100 shares, you'll get 64 UMG shares. And in the ongoing interest in Remainco, if you held from IPO, you'd have 11 distributable redeemable warrants and 22 Tontine warrants. In my case, if I had 100 shares, I'd only get the 22 Tontine warrants if I hold through. And you get the transferable SPAC warrants, so 1-to-1, which is good. The overview of the ownership and governance here, we've got Vivendi, who will distribute 60% of UMG's ordinary shares to its shareholders in taxable in-kind share distribution. So they're going to trade on, it says here, this is important, it says they're going to trade initially on the Euronext Amsterdam. So I take that to mean initially that it's not stopping there and it won't end there. They're actually going to try and dual list or put it into an American depository receipt, which will alleviate some concerns to some people who were worried about it only trading in Europe. They've also said here at the bottom in yellow that UMG will be one of the largest companies on the Euronext Amsterdam exchange, and then it will automatically become a member of several major global indices. So this will be good for the share price of UMG because the indices will be forced to buy. They give you a bit of a breakdown here about the funding sources, and then they run through some comparisons and structure, just highlighting, I encourage you to go look at this yourself, but it's just highlighting why this is investor friendly as opposed to traditional SPACs where the sponsors sort of make bank and other people sort of lose out. This is an important slide because if you would like the opportunity to buy into this, this SPAC, you can still do so up until a certain point in this timeline and still receive the Tontine warrants and still receive the SPARC rights. So I think I need to go through this a bit more fully, but I think it's as long as you buy before the share redemption tender offer ends, which will be sometime in late August, it looks like from the timeline, then you'll be a holder following the record date, and you will get Tonte warrant distribution and you'll get a Spark warrant distribution. And then in September is when the shares are going to be listed, and that's when the transaction will close and holders will get their shares of UMG and the split for Remainco. So this is just a bit of a summary here about what's going to occur. They do go into a bit of detail about what's going to happen with sponsor warrants and what's going to happen with director warrants. I won't go over this too much, but I want to see if there's anything else in here that I want to highlight to the tankers. So Remainco, what have we got here? This is an example of how the distributable redeemable warrants will work. For anyone, including myself, who didn't hold from IPO, this is not really relevant, but they're telling you how they're going to work it out with a volume weighted average price over the last 10 days. And this is an example of if PSTH had traded at $26, then 31 million times the 60-month fair value. What is it? A ratio, yeah, and that'll be an additional 9 million shares. It also shows you here that for the warrant, there'll be an adjusted exercise price post-distribution. So that's good to know because they'll take the value of UMG share distribution out and the exercise price of those warrants will come down. There's another important slide I wanted to get to here I want to show you guys. So this one is really good. This is about Remainco, basically saying that they're going to pursue a business combination with an operating business and will not be a share purchase or of a minority position. Pershing Square will own 29% of it. And at the bottom there where it says Remainco to pursue merger or majority share acquisition of operating business immediately. So as I sort of said yesterday, I thought they might have a target, and this sort of confirms, reading between the lines, I do think they've got a target because they're saying immediately they're going to pursue it. So I feel like hot off the September distribution, we're going to hear a lot of news about Remainco. The Spark. So the part which everyone is interested in, or the part which is the most exciting, they highlight here just some of the benefits and the retail friendly aspects of this. I wanted to draw everyone's attention to the bottom here where they say Spark terms remain subject to SEC review of confidential filing to occur shortly. And then there's a little footnote there where it basically goes on to say that there's no assurance that can be given that the Spark will be ultimately efficated on the above outlined terms or at all. So it still needs the blessing of the SEC. And I guess that's a good risk reward profile, because until that is confirmed, you won't see this fully reflected in the share price, which means, you know, there's an opportunity that it will happen, it won't happen. But if you buy in now, you get the risk reward upside if it does go through. And this is just what to expect and sort of another mini timeline of what they're going to do. And this is the interesting part, which I'll also try and post an update on. So they're going to do an investor day, June 23rd, 2021. Unless I'm mistaken, I think this is Wednesday night for us in Australia. So there's going to be two presentations. There's going to be Universal Music Group at 8:15, which should be roughly 10:15 p.m. our time. And then there's going to be another one immediately after by Pershing Square Investment Team at 9 a.m. So that should be 11 p.m. our time. Anyway, I might try and watch that and give you guys an update. And the last slide is just a disclaimer. So yeah, there's good updates here, tankers, about what's going on with this investment opportunity. And if you got any feedback or you like this type of content, please let us know. Thanks very much for listening, and speak to you soon.